really hope you like this video. Just subscribe, like, and click the bell to be notified of more content just like this. Welcome back, new year, kind of. Charlie McCann and John Richardson are with us again for a Zoomers. Hi, fellas, how are you?
Very well, thanks, Rob. Good to be back.
Good form, thank you, Rob. Happy New Year to you, John, to you, Rob, and to all the viewers.
Same to you, Charlie.
How's Gibraltar, Charlie? Are you? We're absolutely. You can tell by Rico. He's freezing. He's locked down. We're a bar humbug. What's it like in Gibraltar? What state of play down there?
It's terrible, absolutely terrible. I'm afraid it was for months and months. Gibraltar was almost this haven, almost this oasis. But I'm afraid to say there's been 24, 25 deaths within the last sort of 3 weeks, and it really is at the NHS here, the GHA rather, at full capacity. It really is pretty grim. Obviously, we're on full lockdown. You go for one walk a day. That's it. Masks, obviously, everybody's had to wear masks all the time. You know, you've got to wear a mask walking down the street. Everything's deserted. Curfew from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. only. 10 p.m. till 8 a.m. Nobody allowed on the streets other than and you will get fined and everything. You've got to be an essential worker, key worker alone. But no, it really has taken a turn very much for the worst. It's I think per capita it is one of the. I'm afraid to say it is. It is the West Brom, I'm afraid, of European COVID at the moment. Per capita, it is really grim, really grim.
It's sad. It's sad to hear, and it's obviously a sad way to start the new year. We were just talking off air, me and Rico. Will football go on, Rico? Do you think?
I think we're at the crossroads, to be honest, Rob. It's great that it is continuing because, let's be fair, it keeps a lot of people's sanity, doesn't it? To have something to look forward to. I know they can't go to the games, the fans, but they're at least seeing them on the TV. And there's been some decent games. It's kept them going. But we have got this problem about celebrations. The government are looking at this and saying it's not the greatest of examples, is it? With players hugging and kissing and blah, blah, blah. Whereas, we've got a social distance, the rest of us. But it's very hard because how do you suddenly cut the emotion out of football? It's something that happens instinctively. But I think there has got to be a real sit down now with managers, with players, and say, look, I'm sorry, just for a few weeks or maybe a couple of months, you can't do that. You've got to refrain from it. You've got to cut those celebrations, because otherwise I can just see the government suddenly saying, right, that's it. You've had enough warnings. We're going to stop football. And, nobody wants that.
The big game, it is amazing since we've been away, Charlie, is to say that Manchester United are top of the Premier League going into a game with Liverpool, who can't buy a win at all at the moment.
Can't buy a goal, one goal, 270 minutes against the might of Newcastle, West Brom, and to a lesser extent Southampton. It's weird, and it's not. You can have sort of blips, and your strikers not firing and missing chances. I think in those games they had a shot on target in 75 minutes against Southampton, 4 shots on target against West Brom, and 2 against Newcastle. These are shots on target. They hadn't really looked like scoring. There's the rub. We can't blame Diego Jota. You can't blame Alcantara, sort of a bit rusty. Something is. And Mane, I think, has been again sensational. But Salah and Firmino, everyone's Klopp came out defending, as he always does when they win, defending Firmino and things like that. But Firmino's been poor. His overall play has been poor. This is a massive game. Liverpool even money. Manchester United did just slightly less than 3-1. A massive game. If Manchester United win that, they go 6 points ahead of Liverpool. This really is a big game. Going back to what you say, I hope football continues. I've not been particularly impressed with, and not just the celebrations. My celebrations, John, over Christmas and New Year. I'm surprised that yours are still going. But the goal celebrations apart, I was desperately disappointed and really do want to find out why the Manchester City, for the Everton versus Manchester City game, was cancelled on 3 hours notice. Yet Manchester City played a game 3 days later. The edict said, we said if, Aston Villa had to play their under-7s or whatever it was against Liverpool. I can't get my head around why Manchester City were allowed to play 3 days before and then play against Chelsea 3 days after the Everton game with just 3 changes. That went against what was written in the Premier League. And I think Everton, have kept their counsel here, but there's no question that everybody at Everton wants to get to the bottom of this. Why was that game postponed? The Aston Villa game is different. I'm afraid, again, why 10 of the first team got COVID. There's definitely been, a breach in COVID protocol, I would suggest, but that's different. There's 10 of them, I think, is different. It's the Manchester City game. And again, you can say I've got an Everton hat on there, but I know everybody at Everton, is behind the scenes, is furious that Manchester City did not fulfill that fixture. The Premier League allowed them, and they were allowed to play 3 days later and make just 3 changes from the team that played a week ago. I can't get my head around that.
Rico, it is. I think it's in fairness to all the sides. I mean, we had the Spurs, Fulham. Scott Parker very unhappy. He's got to play. Everybody has to mix and match, don't they? They have to just do the best. And if COVID hits, it hits. It's as simple as that, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree 100% with Charlie. I thought he spoke brilliantly there. It sums it up because it's the integrity of the competition is at stake. And I agree with everything Charlie said. I think there's got to be some hard and set rules here about, how many players. They've got huge squads, these Premier League sides, as we know, as we saw at Aston Villa. As Charlie said, the under-7s did very well. And, one of the highlights of the weekend last Friday, wasn't it? Their goal was fantastic. But yeah, being serious, we've got to look at this and, there's got to be a committee that sorts out, when you can play and when you can't play. At the moment, is it 14 players? You've got to have 14 players. Well, definitely Manchester City, whatever. They'll all have 14 players. So there's got to be some hard and set rules. But let's get to grips with it because, as I say, it does affect the integrity of the competition. What
about the game? What about the Liverpool-Manchester United game, Rico? Have you been? I think people are surprised by Liverpool. Have you been surprised by Manchester United?
No, because it's been a regular theme. We've been talking about the roller coaster world of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. He's going to be sacked one week, he's the hero the next, and at the moment, you've got to give him credit. He's done a brilliant job. I've got some stats here, by the way, boys, and they're not mine, but they're Jed Rea, who was a fantastic statistician, even if I can say it. Right, here we go. Jurgen Klopp's next Anfield win will be his 100th as Liverpool manager in all competitions. Only Bob Paisley and Kenny Dalglish have reached the milestone in fewer games. And this is interesting. It's also Jurgen's 100th league game at Anfield as Reds boss. Right, boys, how many has he lost out of those 100?
Well, I don't know about Jed. I've got stats here from the top Sky man, Trevor Simmons.
Question, please.
I'm saying it says it's his 200th Premier League game in charge. He's won 127 out of 199 Premier League games. I've got.
That's in charge of Liverpool. This is at Anfield. Answer.
Yeah. No.
Listen to the question, please.
That's what John said.
This is his 100th league game at Anfield as Reds boss. How many has he lost out of the 99?
I'm going to say none.
It's either none or one. I can't remember. The Crystal Palace was the last team to win at Anfield in the Premier League. I can't remember.
Well, according to Jed, it's 4. But it's still fantastic, isn't it?
Unbelievable. But then at the same time, Manchester United have got the best record away. So going back to it, how do you see it?
It usually ends up as a draw. Yeah, and I can see a draw. I mean, Liverpool, as we know, they haven't been firing all cylinders. you know, people going about the missing, you know, central defender, which they are, but it's the famed three who haven't been firing all cylinders the last few weeks. So you've got to look at that. I mean, Sadio Mane has been playing well. He's probably been the one spark. Mo Salah seems to be in one of his ever-ending sulks. You know, because things are, I don't care what anybody says, things are not right with Mo Salah in Liverpool, and we can talk about that if you want. So, you know, Manchester United have got nothing to fear, certainly. So I'm going for a draw.
But this
Okay.
is the same.
Go on, sorry.
This is the same Manchester United side who were outclassed by Manchester City in the. So let's not get, if the proper Liverpool turn up, Liverpool are better than Manchester United. But it's what Liverpool turn up, and as well as, you know, we're berating you know, two of the front three for Liverpool. You know, Trent and Alexander-Arnold. You know, that those incredible statistics of giving the ball away 38 times at St. Mary's. You know, and people almost glossed over, you know, his part in the goal as well. There's something, whether they've got too big for the boots, I don't know, at Anfield, but I'm sure the manager will have got stuck into them. And this is a massive, massive game. I think a draw would suit Manchester United without any question. And if this was Jose Mourinho in charge, I probably think it would be a no score. Whether Ole's able to set his team up, I wonder whether the likes of Bruno Fernandes, etc., would play for. I think Liverpool will win, but it's a bigger game, arguably, I think, for Liverpool than Manchester United.
What is wrong with Mo Salah then, Rico? What do you know that we don't know?
I think he's got a very busy agent. I don't think that helps. I know there's been a few ructions behind the scenes with his agent and people at Liverpool. I mean, it wasn't reported at the time, but his agent went to Jurgen Klopp and said, you know, a few months back, I don't like the way the position he's playing in. That was when Salah was pushed up front with, you know, it through the middle. There's been things like that, and you know, we talked about it a few shows ago about that interview he did in a Spanish newspaper. Now, you know, that was planted there. You know, there's definitely something going on, and I think my contacts tell me that if the right bid comes next summer in for Salah from either Barcelona, Real Madrid or whatever, they'll sell him because, as they've proved in the past, the best players they replace. You know, Kevin Keegan went, Kenny Dalglish came in. You know, everybody thought it was the end of the world when Kevin went. Kenny came in, the same thing will happen again. In fact, the player they're probably missing the most at the moment is Diego Jota. You know, so he can easily, you know, feed back into the forward line. So I think there's a few interesting months ahead with Mo Salah.
Okay, let's move on to other areas and other games. I did have to smile this week when I read the news that perhaps Avram Grant was being tipped to come in alongside Frank Lampard, and I just wondered what Frank, when he was having his cornflakes and his morning coffee, thought about that.
Chelsea's most successful manager.
Yes, read it all.
Believe it or not, if you go by stats. Yeah,
I would have thought Ancelotti was, but the stats.
Yeah, I mean, I'd go for Carlo Ancelotti any day, but stats, you know, on games won and whatever, it's Avram Grant has got the biggest percentage wins in the Mourinho era. But in answer to your question, obviously Frank doesn't want that, does he? He wants to be his own man. The pressure's on. It's Chelsea. It's Roman Abramovich. He has to get on with it. You know, we'll see what Frank is made of. I'm a Frank Lampard fan. I hope he pulls himself free of all this and, you know, Chelsea get back to winning games.
Charlie, what's your take on what's been happening at Chelsea? I mean, it's going back to interviews. Even Timo Werner himself said, you know, I'm struggling to cope with the physical nature of the Premier League. Kai Havertz, I'm sure we still haven't seen the best of it. Is it the same conversation we had a while back where Frank still doesn't know his best team, or is it his best players have just fallen out of form?
Well, they certainly haven't hit the ground running. Whether they will be able to adjust in time, sort of who knows with the physicality. Both have looked pretty fragile, I'm afraid. The Bundesliga, when you think, take Bayern Munich apart, I don't, away, but then their record in Europe is so good. It is. Werner looks out of his, if not out of his depth, because occasionally he'll do something that, but sometimes he looks disinterested as well. Sometimes he looks too fragile for the Premier League. I don't know whether he wants to play left side of the front three or in the middle. If he plays in the middle, what happens to Tammy Abraham and Giroud? I think Frank's managed pretty ordinarily, and I'm afraid, with his sort of team selection and his handling of I think he's just wanted to sort of give. You wouldn't know his best side, would you really? His front three, if they were playing, I think Pulisic should play. I think the writing's on the wall for Frank. I must say, I've not been particularly impressed with them. Even when they win, it's not been, at the start of the season, when you think what they did in the Champions League, they looked a good team in a few of those games. Okay, they were in an ordinary group, but no, I've not been particularly impressed. And if I was a Chelsea supporter, I'd be quite frustrated, I must say, and I would be slightly disillusioned, I think, now, and wonder where we go and whether Frank is the person to take us to the next level, because they're not a threat for the Premier League now at all.
I think
it's an unforgiving league, Rico, isn't it? I mean, 1 minute we said, well, I'll tell you what, Frank's doing really, a bit like Ollie. Oh, he's doing really well. The next, it's almost the next week he's doing poorly.
That's the nature of the beast. I mean, on Chelsea, my front three would be Pulisic on the left, Werner through the middle, and Ziyech on the right. I think Werner is a goal scorer who's having a bad time. But as Charlie said, he looks shell-shocked at the moment. He's lacking any confidence. But as we know with strikers, you get a few goals and there you go. Same sort of thing happened with Alvaro Morata at Chelsea. Proven goal scorer. He scored goals wherever else he's been, but not at Chelsea. It didn't work for him. I think it will work eventually for Werner, but you've got to play him through the middle for me. And Pulisic, I think, is Chelsea's best forward. I think Charlie agrees with that. So play him down the left. I like Ziyech coming in from the right, the Ajax player. I think that gives you a chance. Then Mason Mount just behind them. You got Kante.
Good players.
Hey?
You've got some good players.
Oh, absolutely. Have I made those names up or something? Are you laughing?
No. Just saying. I mean, it's just the way you got them, and you've got. Maybe it goes down to I just don't know. Play a regular 11. Let them settle.
Who says the
embarrassment to riches again, isn't it?
Well, who says they're good players? They've got to do it. Pulisic to me is, but since his injury, his cup final injury, hasn't really been as good. Ziyech certainly again fitful for me. Werner fitful. Mason Mount, okay, he's a good player. He's hardly Jack Grealish.
Jack Grealish.
Nope, he's not Jack Grealish.
Listen, can I ask you, Charlie? Sorry, from a betting perspective, I read this morning that City are now 6-4 on to 6 for the title, favourites for the title, and they're favourites for the title without playing with the centre forward.
Yeah, and they were hardly impressive midweek, were they? But they are. Sorry, Liverpool and Manchester City, I think we all agreed at the start of the season one of those teams would win the league. I still think that is the case. I still think it is Liverpool's title to lose. I'm not as bullish now as I was when we three met again, as it were. But I still think they're the best team. I think City without a centre forward, I don't know. I think they should have sold Sergio Aguero 18 months ago, let alone and now. I don't think they'll get any money for him. I don't think Guardiola's really fancied him for a best part of sort of 18 months and has really wanted to sort of think he could have got a lot of money for him. I think he was becoming injury prone. I still think Jesus is a player, but amazing to see when Jesus came on Wednesday night, he played left side of the field, left side, and kept Bernardo Silva centre forward. I mean, I couldn't make that up, and I wanted them to equalise. I really so wanted them to equalise, to say, well, what do you think of that now? Will you still play Jesus left side now if it's 1-1? No, you won't. You'll switch. But it was, I don't know. I know John's not a great admirer of the Pope, as he calls him, but Liverpool still for me, Manchester City second and Manchester United third.
Can I just talk about the other end of the table? Starting with Newcastle, who all my Newcastle supporting friends, a bit like yourself, are. I mean, they all love Brucey, but they're also unhappy. It's as simple as that.
I cannot remember in all the, well, certainly in the last 10, 15 years, ever seen such a negative Newcastle side as this one. And I love Steve Bruce, as a bloke, but Brucey, for God's sake, take the handbrake off. I mean, they start with 5 at the back, 3 plodding centre halves, wing backs that don't move over the halfway line. It's shocking. I've done a piece with Malcolm McDonald for Sunday, and you can imagine what Supermax said. Yes,
I can.
I could only use the principal bits. It's shocking. And you speak to, I met a Newcastle fan a couple of days ago, and he said the same. He said, we don't mind losing. Nobody minds losing as long as you have a go. You can't win the lottery without buying a ticket. And Newcastle certainly are not buying any tickets at the moment. They're absolutely shocking. They're definitely in the relegation fight now. I think they just have enough, but you can't look forward to next season already because it'd be the same again. There's just no...
Will it be the same again? I mean, Mike Ashley came out this week and supported Steve. I must wonder if Steve sort of said, okay, let's just totally change and let's have a go and see where we get to.
Look, Steve Bruce, as far as Mike Ashley is concerned, all he has to do is keep them in the Premier League. That's the mandate from Mike Ashley. Ashley is desperate to sell the club, as we know. He's not putting any more money into it. He just wants it to remain in the Premier League. There's no ambition. There's no hope. There's no soul. It is soulless. It's completely, you look at some of those players. You look at the bench the other day, and there was 4 forwards on the bench. There was just Callum Wilson up front by himself against Sheffield United. It was pathetic. I mean, Newcastle made Sheffield United look like Barcelona in the first half. Absolutely ridiculous.
I've got to, as I've been going, because we've not been on for a while, I've been jotting down a couple of things. I do think we need to tip our hats a couple of times. Your goalkeepers, you've probably got 2 of the best goalkeepers in Dubravka and Darlow, who's kept him out.
Yeah, well, maybe they should play them both.
Yeah. The other one, Charlie, I don't know where it goes with this, but the other one, I must admit that I think James Tarkowski and Ben Mee at Burnley, since Ben Mee's come back fit, they've really picked up as well. I think sometimes with the big stars, you do forget there are some terrific other players in the league. I don't know where we actually go with that, but the bottom for you, Charlie, has it taken a new shape? I mean, I did flag up Brighton as being a little bit pretty, as I call them. Has Sheffield United got any chance of getting out of it?
No, they still haven't got any chance. Just beating, as John said, a very turgid Newcastle side. Maybe they had the look of the green, rub of the green there that maybe they hadn't been getting, and maybe they're due. But no, you can't go down. It's far too early to say anything other than they're going down. I was very impressed with Fulham against Spurs.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
They're the ones. West Brom are going down. Sheffield United are going down, and it's another. Crystal Palace were very good again last night defensively. They're not going down. So we get to who? West Brom. West Brom are going down. Fulham, Brighton. I think you may be right there. You may be right there. Although they had their opportunities against Manchester City.
They've got a lot of injuries as well. Key players, haven't they? Got a lot of injuries at the wrong time, Brighton.
They do have. They do have. Again, one thing I've been almost wanting to say for the best part of 3 weeks or something is West Brom got a draw at Anfield, and it was hailed as the greatest sort of tactical thing by Sam Allardyce. Newcastle United got a draw against Liverpool. Okay, it was at St James's Park, but there's no crowds and everything like that. And everybody chastised Steve Bruce, or sort of said, you know, I can't get my head around with the press's loving with Sam Allardyce, and why other people have been sort of, you know, this is how good he is. He's no Redditor. This is how good he is. You know, the sound thrashings. He brought on Charlie Austin in a game over the festive period, and I was watching it with my son, and I couldn't believe that was the Charlie Austin of old. And in fairness to Sam, of course, he's got rid of him to back to Queen's Park Rangers. But if Sam Allardyce gets out of this, I will sing You Never Walk Alone on this program. Incessantly on the loop.
The problem this time. Sorry, Charlie.
No, it will not happen. That's it.
Yeah. The problem this time, Rico, with Sam is he goes in and everybody said, "Oh, point at Anfield," but there's not going to be a load of players coming in for West Brom. This, you know, the change round defensively. You know, he's looked at a few already, but you can't see it this time round, can you?
No. This is the one time he shouldn't have gone back anywhere. You know, I think Sam's days are numbered. I think he's had a good career, despite what Charlie might say. I know there is a press loving with him. I accept that. The reason being, he's very good with the press. He gives you time, gives you stories. So obviously you're a bit soft on people. But I think this is a journey too far for Sam. Although, you know, he did a fantastic job at Everton, as we all agree. Charlie's face there. But I'll tell you what, Sheffield United will get out of it. There you go.
Wow, that's a great statement. Listen, we're going to round up. The one team we haven't talked about, and I'll give them the last word, is Everton. But I keep marvelling at the players that, you know, Charlie's hammered for Everton, who are doing. Moise Keane now is an absolute sensation at PSG. Theo's done unbelievably leaving. I just think it's the club, surely, Charlie. I'm trying to think of others. I do see players around going, he's doing quite well. He's doing quite well.
We're trying to get rid of Bernard. We're playing him. Obviously, Gylfi, we've been trying to. God love him.
Gylfi went to forward the other day.
Sorry, he scored a chip. What he's done a tremendous job. I mean, to get a win at Wolves. I know Wolves were missing Traore and a couple of others, but that was obviously the centre forward is still out. Let's hope he comes back. It's great to see him in this, but you wonder when he's coming back. But that was a terrific result. That had we gonna go down, I'd have been concerned. But two good goals. We scored at good times. That will be strike, but sensational. And to me, I wanted God. I'm a massive Godfrey fan, and I think isn't Michael Keane playing out of his absolute skin. His passing of the ball is so much improved as well. And that header, it really was. Had Dominic Calvert-Lewin scored that, we've been in back pages and things. It was a sensational header. But no, long may it continue. But at least Aston Villa aren't even turning up.
Listen, lads, thanks as always. It's great to be back. Charlie, thanks. Rico, thanks a lot. We'll do it all again next week. Take care, boys.
All the best.